What is going on, guys? My name is Heliad, and today we're gonna do a top five best deck in Modern right now and how to beat them. Let's get started. As always, thank you for my Patreon, supporting me, buying better equipment for you guys. If you want to support me, Patreon is the best way to do so. Also, if you want to discuss with me, you can go into the description below, click on my Discord, we can talk about Modern Burn and other red decks in general. And if you just like the content, consider subscribing to my channel. Supports me a lot. So let's get into the video. Also, I want to remind you guys that this is my list, so that's my opinion. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below why you disagree. So let's go straight up to number 5. So at number 5, we have Titan decks. So Primeval Titan, ever since its printing, has been a really powerful card. Right now in Modern, we have 2 Primeval Titan decks that are really putting a lot of good results, which is Heliad Titan and Amulet Titan. So I'm putting them in the same category. I know they're not exactly the same deck, but they pretty much want to do the same thing, which is ramping into Primeval Titan, getting useful lands like Valakut, the Mountain Pinnacle, or Field of the Dead, and just trying to swing with creatures or having a million triggers with Valakut with your Dryad. So these decks are very good, very powerful, very resilient also. So the best answers, I think, for me would be Blood Moon, Land Destruction effects, Ashiok, because it stops searching libraries. But unfortunately, if you're a Titan player, you already know that there's not like a clear answer to beat Titans. It's like this card, I win the game always. So that's why Titan is a really good deck, because it's resilient. Even if you drop a Blood Moon, they can still win through a Blood Moon pretty easily sometimes, even through Land Destruction. They have a lot of tools at their disposal to break their opponent's hate. So Titan deck's very powerful. If you're playing Burn, because of course for a Burn channel, I would consider, if you're playing Mono Red, bring in Blood Moons. If you're playing Boros, Path to Exile is pretty much your best friend. Skullcrack, because they have a lot of way to gain life as well, be aware of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Titan decks. So number 4, we have Hammer Time. Hammer Time is a mono-white deck that sometimes splashes other colors like black to get access to Thoughtseize or Fatal Push, but most of the deck is mono-white. This deck is an aggro deck that uses equipment synergy to go get Colossus Hammer and put it on the creature and swing for 10 2 times to get 20 damage, or sometimes just gonna swing for 10 one time with Igmon Nexus, dealing 10 points of infect and winning the game. So this aggro deck is a really powerful deck right now in Modern, because it's a cheesy deck that can win really fast and has access to a lot of powerful sideboard cards that are good against other decks right now in the Modern metagame, notably Earl Champion. If you're splashing black, you have access to Thoughtseize, which is really good. This deck has a lot of good ways to go fetch the equipment they want, because they're not always going to grab Colossus Hammer. Sometimes if you're playing against aggro, you can grab a Shadow Spear that gives you some point of life. And the deck is putting a lot of good results. I think in a recent Modern challenge, it was the 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place, and 5th place, which is pretty crazy to me. And also right now in Modern, there are not a lot of artifact hate, so this deck uses this to his advantage. How do you beat the deck? Well, you have to kill the creatures before they get equipped by the equipment, of course. So all the removal 1-mana spell like Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile are all pretty good. Of course, you want to destroy the source of the problem, which is most of the time going to be the Colossus Hammer itself. So having some destruction artifact is really good. I think one of the best spell against them would be K Command, because you have access to kill a creature and kill the artifact, or have the other modes. If you're playing Burn, Path to Exile, Smash with Smithereens, and Deflecting Palm are all very powerful against the Hammer Time deck. Number 3, we have Heliad Company. This Selesnya deck has proven itself to be really powerful, having 2 infinite combo decks in the deck, notably Spike Feeder, Heliad, and Walking Ballista, Heliad. This deck is really powerful because if your opponent is playing an aggro deck, if you can assemble the combo Spike Feeder, Heliad, you can just win infinite life. And if you're playing against control, you can just Walking Ballista them to death with Heliad, or just swing with creatures, outvaluing your opponent with cards like Collective Company and cards like Ranger Captain of Eos. And this deck is really powerful because it has access to good sideboard cards, white as well. Also, if you're seeing this deck on MTG Goldfish, let's say, and you're saying it's not really being played a lot, well, there is a reason for that, is because we're not playing any Paper Magic right now. The deck is only being played on MTGO, and on MTGO you cannot win infinite life. You have to do it, and that takes time. You have to do it manually, and most of the time your opponent might not concede. Let's say you're playing against a Titan deck that can swing you for like 20 damage in the later turns of the game. They might not concede, and you might just lose even if you should have infinite life. So I think when Paper Magic is gonna be back, this deck is gonna be one of the best deck in the higher tournaments. So how do you beat the deck? Well, of course it's a creature deck, so having cards like Fiddle Push, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile again is good. But if you want to beat the combo, Walking Ballista, Heliad and stuff, Spike Feeder, Pitting Needle is actually a pretty good card because you can name one of the 3 cards and that stops the combo. Also, if you have cards like K-Command, again, because it has a 2-for-1, killing the Walking Ballista, killing another creature, really powerful. If you're playing Burn, I'm sorry you're gonna lose. No, I'm just joking, but it's a really hard matchup. You have to bring Path to Exile to be the right champion. Skullcrack is your best friend, and Rolling Vortex is also your best friend. So at number 2, we have Revenant the Shadow. So this Shadow is a really powerful card and have been in Modern for a while now, the Shadow decks. It was notably before Grixis the Shadow or 4-color the Shadow, Splashing Blue for Stubborn Denial. Now it's only down to 2 colors, red and black, pretty much because of the new card, Scourge of the Skyclave. This card is really good. You could even argue that it's better than the Shadow sometimes. And having the other Shadow, that's why I call it 8 Ragdolls, like 8 Shadows, is a really good addition to the deck. And this deck is a really aggressive deck. At the same time, it's also a very disruptive deck, and it has a lot of value because of cards like Mishra's Bubble, in addition to Lurrus of the Dream Den and Kroxa. So the deck is really disruptive, aggressive, and has a lot of value for some late game, and can always finish up the game really fast with cards like Temur Battle Rage. So how do you beat this deck? Well, you want to kill the creatures, so again, not Lightning Bolt this time, but Fiddle Push and Path to Exile are really good, but I think one of the best card in sideboard cards that you could have is Celestial Purge, because this card can either exile Shadow, Scourge of the Skyclave, Monastery Swiss Spear. Really good card. Even a Blood Moon, sometimes they're playing Blood Moon. Really good card for only 2 mana. If you're playing Burn, Path to Exile, and Deflecting Palm are 2 very powerful cards. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for, my number 1 pick for Modern right now. I'm sure everyone at this point already know what is the best deck in Modern right now. Boros Burn. Boros Burn is actually the best deck in Modern right now, no doubt about that. Of course, it's Earl Piles. This deck has been dominating the format since Earl is in Modern. I'm putting all the Earl Piles together, by the way, so 4-color Earl, Temur Earl, Sultai Earl, even Titan Earl. Every time Earl is in a deck, the deck is really powerful. Earl is just a very good way to stop aggro decks, give you ramp for control decks, draw some cards. It just does everything you want to do as a control player. Bring it back. You can, with one Earl, you have access to multiple Earls. So how do you beat these kind of decks? Well, if you're playing an aggro deck, you have to kill them before they go too much value with their Fill of the Dead and stuff. Before they go too much with bringing back Earl, you have to kill the opponent before they bring back Earl, pretty much. If you're not playing aggro, you're playing more like mid-range or control, you have some hate against Earl specifically, like Climb to Dust, Nihil's Bile Bomb, Relic of Progenitus, Surgical Extraction, and stuff like that. If you're playing Burn, well, you can always play Rolling Vortex, Skull Crack, and Relic of Progenitus, or even Surgical Extraction if you prefer. I'm not too much of a fan of Surgical, but Relic is fine. So yeah, that's it for Earl piles. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section below what is your top 5 list for modern decks right now. If you have a suggestion of how to beat those decks, definitely put it in the comment section below as well. If you enjoyed the video, put a little thumbs up, helps a lot. And if you want to see content like this, subscribing is the best way of encouraging me. And I'll see you next time in another video. Bye bye guys.